guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ego, and wow, I haven't done a DIY on this channel in such a long time, but I am glad that the project I'm going to be working on today is one of the first things I will be showing on this channel in a really long time. It's been a while. But yeah, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this dress that I wore for my birthday. Well, one of the dresses that I wore for my birthday. And I made it using this Simplicity vintage pattern that I got off of Etsy. I'm going to put a link here in the description box. And I first tested it out by just making a regular dress the way the pattern came out. But then when I wanted to use the pattern to make the dress that I wore for my birthday, I switched it up a little bit. So you can see that in the original pattern, it's short sleeved. It's longer, so it's longer, so I had to shorten the length of the dress a little bit to make it the length that I wanted it to be. And specifically for my birthday dress, I put a fur trim around the hem of the dress, the sleeves and the bottom hem. Overall, it was a very simple pattern to work with, and this is coming from me. I don't use patterns a lot. I haven't used them enough to be considered anything other than, I guess, a beginner with patterns. Most of the things that I make, I draft myself. So I can say for sure that it's very beginner friendly, very easy to use. So if you'd like to see how I made this dress, just keep watching. So as you'd expect, we are beginning this process by cutting out our pattern pieces. And of course, you have the option to cut out the pattern pieces in your size straight from the pattern, like the way it came out. But I prefer to trace out my own pattern so that I'll always have the original to go back to, and that way I can manipulate it anyhow I want. Note that this mostly only applies to print patterns. If you buy a PDF pattern, you can honestly cut it out directly, since anytime you want the pattern, you can just reprint it. But like I said, I had tried this pattern out with a previous dress before actually using it to make the dress that I wore for my birthday. So I cut out the pattern pieces and then used those pattern pieces to cut out my fabric. So with this pattern, I'm cutting out 5 main parts: the front piece, which I cut on fold, the 2 back pieces, because there's a zipper that runs through the back, the sleeves, and the front and back neck facings. So after cutting out the pieces, I laid them out on the fabric before I started cutting, because I was working on a print fabric. So I wanted to make sure that the pieces of the fabric and the design of the fabric aligned with the dress that I was sewing. I recommend that, that's something that you might want to keep in mind if you're working with a patterned or print fabric. I also marked all the notches and the darts with little snips of scissors into the seam allowance. That's just to make sure that the pieces of my fabric line up where they're supposed to be. And now that we have all the pieces cut out, I'm prepping for sewing as well by marking important things such as darts on the front and back pieces of the dress. Honestly, one of the first lessons that I learned is that it's so important that you take the time to do this before you even begin to sew. It will make your work easier in the long run, trust me. Yeah, so this is the next day. I had to move on to a more urgent project, so I continued this the day after. So now I'm going to sew all the darts on both the front and back pieces of the dress and pressing them down towards the center of the dress as I go. The front piece has 2 darts on it, one under the bust and 2 other darts going from the bust point down towards the waistline. And the back piece has 2 darts as well, a back dart and one at the shoulder going slightly downwards. Then I'll stitch both the front and the back pieces of the dress together at the shoulder seams. Next, I'm sewing the neck facings together with the right sides facing each other. Then with right sides together, like with the outside of the pattern together, I'm pinning and sewing the neck facings to the neck edge, making sure that all my center seams and all my seams and all the centers are matching together before I sew. And then when it's time to fold over, I'm clipping the curves around the neck stitching, folding the seams facing out and giving it a good press. It's also important to understitch close to the seam line. And honestly, anytime you're working with a pattern, all these techniques are written in detail in the pattern instructions. So I just suggest that you follow whatever instructions comes with whatever pattern you're using. Next, I'm going to work on the back seams where the zipper will go. I'm starting by pressing under about 5/8 of an inch on the back opening edges, which is where I'll be placing the zipper. So I'm just preparing to put a zipper on the dress, and then I'm sewing the rest of the back seam closed below where the zipper will lie, and just attaching my zipper on with my zipper foot. So once the zipper is in place, all I have to do is stitch the side seams together. So it's day 3. So what's left is to add the sleeves to the dress. So I have my sleeves ready, and with the right sides together, I pin the sleeve in the armhole of the dress and just stitched it around the way, around the seams, and just stitched it around the seams. And then I made sure that I hemmed the bottom of the dress, but I decided to try on this iron-on hem tape because I had never used it before, and also because I wanted to add an ostrich feather trim to the bottom of the hem and the sleeves opening. And this one I had to hand sew, and of course this is a step that you can absolutely skip and just wear the dress as it is, but I wanted the dress to be a little less simple. So I ordered this ostrich feather trim from Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description box. I got about 2 yards long, and I just hoped that it was going to be enough to give the dress exactly what I needed, and it eventually it did, so that was good. But I had to use like the entire 2 yards, so keep that in mind when you're making your own dress. So overall, this took a good couple of hours. It wasn't easy, but it was simple, and I loved the outcome. If you want more details on this post, make sure you check out my Instagram and my blog. I put all the details of the pattern, the inspiration for the dress. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.